Professor Manor is, yes, Manor Actor, the president of Servants of the Buddha. I will start my talk with a thematic passage, which was the basis of my talk today. Mamam hi ananda Kalyanamitang agam. Jati dhamma satta jatiya parimuchanti. Jara dhamma satta jaraya parimuchanti. Marana dhamma satta maranena parimuchanti. Soka parideva dukkha domanassa upadaya upayasa dhamma sota satta soka parideva dukkha domanassa upayase parimuchanti. Iminako etang ananda pariyayena veditabba yata sakala mevidang brahmacharyang kalyana mittata kalyana sahayata kalyana sampavankata. The rendering, the English rendering is this: by relying upon me as a spiritual friend, Kalyanamitta, Ananda, being subject to birth are freed from birth, being subject to aging are freed from aging, being subject to death are freed from death, being subject to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair are freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. By this method, Ananda, it may be understood how the entire holy life is good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship. Yes, this talk today, I think, is a sequel to the talk that was done on the Vesak Day. I was requested by the Honorable President to speak on spiritual friendship. And I based that the discourse on that day on the sutta, the Sigalova, Sutta, and mainly the Kalyanamitta suttas that are recorded in Samyutta Nikaya. So there, to recapitulate, there are 4 types of friends mentioned in the discourses, not in both these. When you combine these two, there are 4 types of friends. One is the Papamitta, also referred to as a Bala, a person who are advised, we are advised not to associate. We know in the Mangala Sutta, we have the word Asevanacha Bala. So that's one type. Then the second is the Pitta, Mitta Patirupaka, a pseudo friend or false friend. The third is a Suhadamitta, is mentioned in the Sigalovat Sutta, a Suhadamitta, a good-hearted friend, a loyal friend. And finally, we have the Kalyanamitta, a spiritual friend, a noble friend. So these are the 4 types of called friends of, yes, that we will be associating in our life. And we like to discuss some of the characteristics of these types. Who is a Papamitta? Now, a Papamitta is a friend. A mitta is a friend. A friend who will entice one to break consciously or unconsciously the 5 precepts, which are the Nitya Sila. Now, where we are all Buddhists, we know the Nitya Sila. Now, as you know, the Panchasila is not only for Buddhists, for the whole humanity, because we should remember that the Buddha, there was no, he didn't preach the Dhamma to so-called Buddhists. He preached to the people, human beings, and even to the Devas. So the thing is, the 5 precepts are, for the good and harmonious living in society. The 5 precepts are important, and leading a life upon the 5 precepts brings harmony in society. And besides that, the Papamitta will also will be a friend in committing the 10 unwholesome actions. They are referred to as Dasa Akusala Kamma. Now we took now just a few minutes ago, we took the Ajiva Ashtamaka Sila. Now the first, say they are the Kaya, they are the types of the Dasa Kusala Kamma, the unwholesome actions are vocal, physical, and also mental. Now the physical, the actions, unwholesome actions, we all know about it. The Panatipata, that is killing, and also there is stealing and sexual misconduct. So those are the three that we should be as unwholesome actions. And also for the vocal, there we have lying, telling lies, then backbiting, we say pisuna vacha, and then very harsh speech, and also we have the sampapal, just the non-useful words used in discussions and everything, which are not conducive to one's well-being here and there, here and in the other world. So that's out of the vocal, and also then the mental. The mental, one is it's the lust, the greed, the lobha. So that's one, the covetousness. So that type of person who is, if you have a pavamitta, he will always not allow you to do to get to the other, of liberality, but he is always other. And also those anger. And the last is michaditti. So the michaditti, that is wrong views. And that's one of the things that we should be very careful, Sometimes we hear of, say, Buddhists being converted and all types of things, the michaditti. You should be, if there are friends who help you to leave your religion and get to another religion. So the thing is that from the Buddhist point of view, that's michaditti, because the Buddhists believe in a particular system of thought, which is finally, say, thinking of there is no God as against the God worship in others. So there are several areas where, especially the Buddhists, which is the anatta doctrine, the dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta, those are things, those are valuable, and which will make a person understand the true nature of things. So that's the papamitta. And then we have the mitta patirupaka, the pseudo friend. Now those are the very dangerous persons, They are the people who come and who really ruin a person's life, and also could be even ruin a government or ruin a company, anything, there is ruination that is there, because they come not only for the benefit. First type is the Anya Dhattuvara, that's mentioned in the Sugalavat Sutta, Anya Dhattuvara, that they come only to get some kind of benefit from you. They think of you only if you want something from you. Other times he forgets you, but he's thinking of you only if you want to get something from you and get closer and closer for its own personal benefit. And those are they come as mitta, as friends. And there is another type who flatters you. That's and as human beings, as we like flattery. People say, you are good, very good, and that type of thing, you are doing the correct thing, and that type of flattery, and get and then he's also a friend, but he doesn't take that other important role, as we have mentioned earlier about the Suhadamitta and the Kalyanamitta, but he flatters, a flatterer. And also there is the great talker, the Vachiparama, the great talker. He always when he wants something, he would talk it out. Yes, yes. But if you had told me about this just half an hour ago, I would have done it. Or about something, whatever it is, he talks himself out. But he is, and also backbiting. He to in his in the in your presence, he will always gives the correct. He will always praise you, but behind your back, he will. So he always, he's a person who is a great talker. There are people like that in society. They great talk and talk and talk, and nothing comes out of that. But possibly some kind of satisfaction comes. And then the last is the companion to ruin, the apahasaya. That means the person who is come and takes you to do all the unwholesome actions that you mentioned in earlier, the papamitta. So that person is also there. We have to be very careful, but the apahasaya mitta, they are also there. So if one, it's what is necessary in this regard is just to think of in society. We all of have experiences, and when we have that experience in society, we see this type of friend. And this type of friend who is a pseudo friend, a false friend, and the type of the impact that type of friend has in one's life, and how because of such friends, certain people have been ruined. So that we have to be extremely careful of that type of friend, and that causes so much of what you call instability, and so called your downfall also comes. But and on the good side, we have the Suhadamitta. Now, Suhadamitta is that, again, there are the four types of Suhadamitta. They are the loyal friends. They are very loyal to you, and they will come to you when you need help. They will be there with you. They will come to your help. The Upakaramitta. That's Upakara means you help in others. So he's always there if at the time of need. And then also there are the types of friends in both in your every person has ups and downs, and at all times there are times when you're happy, or there are times where so many things have bereavement in the family and so many things happening, or loss, and whether it's the good or bad times, the sukha dukkha, that and all those samana sukha dukkha, both on those two, so whether it's happy or whether they are unhappy or certain things happen, he's always with you. So that's another helpful type of friend. And then there is the Attakai, that's a mentor, the person with whom you can go and can get advice, and he's always there, and he's helpful. And also the important thing is that if you are doing something wrong, he'll tell you, this is the way to do it, and that type of thing. He's Attakai. And finally, they have the anukampaka, there's sympathy. There are people, when you have a very, very bad time, they'll come and they'll sympathize and also empathize. And then there are the anukampaka mitta. So these are the four types of friends, which is mentioned in the Srigala Sutta. Both the Mitta Patirupaka and the Spada Mitta are mentioned in the Srigala Sutta, Srigalovada Sutta. And they are in your day-to-day life. We meet this type of friends and false friends. And then against this, there is the Kalyanamitta. Now, the fourth type is the most important, that we are discussing the Buddha as the greatest Kalyanamitta. Now, the Kalyanamitta is a person who helps you in your onward journey. He helps you to understand the Noble Eightfold Path, and he's helped you take you along that path, and for the extinction of dukkha, and as I mentioned when we were discussing the Kalyanamitta Sutta, it's like the dawn, the Arunagga, mentioned as Arunagga. That means when there is dawn, the sun will rise. In the same way, when you have a good friend, that means you are on the right path, and the Kalyanamitta, you're on the path, and they will always take you on the correct path. So these are the type of friends, and also there is the Kalyanamitta. We also mentioned of the Kalyana Sahayaka and Kalyana Sampavaka. Now, in the same way, we have the Papa Mitta, Papa Sahayaka, and Papa Sampavaka. The important thing that we have to to know is that the Kalyanamitta is directly opposite to the Papa Mitta. So Papa Mitta will take you along the wrong path. And the Kalyanamitta is the person who will help you to take you on the correct path. So that's the big difference. The difference between, say, the directly opposites, like the North Pole and the South Pole. You know, they are directly opposite. One is the Papa Mitta, and they have the Kalyanamitta. Now, so that's we recapitulated what we were mentioning, and then the importance of a Kalyanamitta. This means that if we are to progress on the path, we should be having a spiritual or noble friend to guide and help us. So that's extremely important, that if you are really interested in our development, in our spiritual development, there should be not one, but there should be a Kalyanamitta, person who will always advise you, who will not fail you at that time. And then the Suhadamitta is also has a limited role. Suhadamitta, as we mentioned, they are good friends, the loyal friends, but they have a limited role to play. They will help you in your day-to-day life. They are the people who will always be with you in your life, in ups and downs and everything you need. They are there. They will help you and they will take you out of that. But we recognize the Kalyanamitta as a person who is assisting, who is helping us in treading, or what to say, in developing the Noble Eightfold Path. So that's, and as we have taken, all of us today, we have taken the Ajiva Ashtamaka Sila, and in the Ajiva Ashtamaka Sila, we have the Sila aspect of it, of the Arya Ashtanga Marga. That's important that we have to. It's above the Panchasila, which is universal. So when you take the Ajiva Ashtamaka Sila, this means that we are on the path. And we want to develop our sila to the extent, as was mentioned, as there should not be even a speck of dust in that. As a conch shell, clean. One of the similes that is used by the Buddha is of the conch shell, and it should be a perfect polished conch shell. And we should develop our sila to that extent of being a polished conch shell. And in that process, it's extremely important that we have friends of this nature, and also a Kalyanamitta. So the Kalyanamitta should be having, as we are explaining now, have a very, very special role to play. And because the Kalyanamitta is for the purpose of ending the sorrows, the sorrows of the sansaric life. And that's why are we Buddhists? Why are we following this? We don't want to continue in samsara. We want to end the samsara. We want to end suffering. We want to have happiness. We want to have complete. So for that, the Kalyanamitta is extremely important. So the corollary of that is that if there is anyone who can assist us in developing and cultivating the Noble Eightfold Path, he's the Kalyanamitta. Now, the Kalyanamitta's role is of helping a person in developing. And if there is one person who has this capacity of helping you without fail, in helping to attain Nibbana, or to tread the path, or to develop the Eightfold Path, and he's the Kalyanamitta. So with that, I will now just again bring back the thematic passage that I mentioned earlier. Now, there he says, let us now listen to that and analyze the thematic passage. It's, I think all should know, it's from Upadda. sutta in the Mahavagga of the Samyutta Nikaya. So you can read that. It's a very, not very long sutta. It's a very short sutta, but it's very full meaning, full of meaning. He says, the Buddha says, Mamanghi Ananda Kalyanamittang Agam. Mamanghi Ananda Kalyanamittang Agam. Now that's what the Buddha himself says. Ananda, by relying upon me as a Kalyanamitta. Now, if any person relies on completely on the Buddha, on me, he says, Buddha, if a person relies on me, if a person accepts me, if he has complete faith, saddha in me, and work along that, these are the things that you will get. Jati dhamma satta jatiya parimuchan. Beings who are subject to birth are freed from birth. Jati is birth. The sansaric life is birth. It's the birth. We will be born again. We'll die and we'll be born again. So we are beings subject to birth. And if beings we are subject to birth are freed from parimunchanti, jatiya parimunchanti, that's we are freed from that if you rely on the Buddha. Jata and jara dhamma satta jaraya parimunchanti. And if the beings who are subject to aging, jara, aging, old age, they are freed from aging. So the thing is, it's something that, aging process, we can't stop that. We are born and then we have this, in the aging process right from the beginning, right from the time a person is conceived, from the fetus, there is growth in that. And there is a growth, and there is then you name your child, you say you're a teenager, then you are a middle-aged person, like that, and then finally you say old age. But it's the same person, it's the same process, it's a process. That aging process, the Buddha says, if you rely on me, if I rely on me, the aging, they are freed from aging. We are freed from aging. That there is something, the nibbana that you are thinking of, that is freed from aging. And say, marana dhamma satta maranena parimuchan. So we are all subject to death. Marana dhamma satta. Satta means beings. We are subject to death. Marana dhamma satta maranena parimuchanti. We can stop. We are freed from death. We no more. That's where when you attain the highest goal, arhat, you say we are not born again. He himself realizes that the conditions that are necessary, they are normally for a person to be reborn. The conditions are no more. Katan karani, I have done everything, and because of that, nothing. I have nothing more to do, and there is no birth again for me. And if there is no birth, there is no aging, there is no what you call the other processes, jati and everything, just becoming sick, all those things, conditions are no more. And that's why finally he says all what we in our day-to-day life, we have soka, that is, we have sorrow, then parideva, lamentation. In certain instances we lament, lamentation, dukkha, we have pain, dukkha, and then we have domanassa, we have displeasure, there is pleasure and displeasure at certain times, and then also upayasa and grief. So these are conditions that we have, when we are born at certain times in our life, we have these. We are subject to sorrow, we are subject to lamentation, we are subject to pain, we are subject to displeasure and grief. And if a person relies on me, the Buddha says, I'm freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and grief. So that's what the Buddha says. And say by relying on, that he says, by relying on and taking Buddha as our Kalyanamitta means having saddha, having trust in him, and confidence in the Buddha. And if that is only if we wish to liberate, that's the thing. That's, that's also, it's important. It's a decision that one has to take. We as I think in a talk I had the service of Buddha earlier. Why are we hanging on in samsara? Because do we really want to liberate ourselves? That's something that we have to ask ourselves. Do we really want to liberate ourselves, or do we like to live again? We have to be born again. Is that a bhavatana? We have these pleasures of life. And if you say in Nibbana, there is no this type of pleasures that we have, this sensual pleasures are no more. But do you want to have a state of development of like that? That's, tanha and vibhava tanha. Sometimes we say, oh, we are disappointed. So we want this and everything now, say conditions that have people waiting in queues for the petrol and the time that is there. And the thing is, then at that time, what are we? Why are we? Why do you want to live in this? And why? So and it's also is a vibhava tanha. It's a greed, but it's not really the liking that you want to have, the earnestness to liberate ourselves. These are two different things. At very different moments we have this, and that's why we are continuing in samsara. And so Samma Sambuddha. Yes, if you rely on me, so that's the Buddha's own statement. If you rely on me, you can. So he says, it's not I'm a Kalyanamitta, because if you follow me, if you have faith in me, if you follow this, you will finally reach that type of liberation, that type of nibbana. That's finally that's important. So this is something that we have to. So if that be so, then it comes that it's not necessary for further necessary is to say that the Buddha is a Kalyanamitta. So Sambuddha as a Kalyanamitta is also from the own Buddha's words. It's proof beyond doubt. So, but the question that we are today discussing is a bit beyond that. The theme is, why is Sambuddha the greatest Kalyana? Now, we have Kalyanamittas. We have Kalyanamitta at the beginning there. We have even in our as a life as a bhikkhu or even as a layman, there are people who are who help us, and who always give us the correct advice, the mentor. That type of friend is always there. We call him the Attakai Mitta, Attakai. So, but why is the Buddha the greatest of Kalyanamitta? Now I see some of the factors that if you consider why Kalyanamitta is the greatest, because his teaching was to everyone. It's not for any particular group of persons, for any racial group or color or anything like that. For everyone, it's open. It's the teaching of his. It's something, and as he says, he's a Deva Manusana. So he's a teacher of Devas and the teacher of Manusa human beings. He's a teacher of everyone. He has no particular group of people, and say even the Sakyans, Now that's his kith and kin, but there was no difference. It's whether it's a Sakyan or whether it's a say Upali, or even as a Sopaka, anybody, it's the same. Rahula, it's to everyone. So he says in his character, if you study his character as a Buddha, and he mentioned in his own Dhamma that this is to everyone. It's and I am the teacher of Devas and Manusas. And what he also said is that he discovered an ancient path. He didn't claim that I'm the person who has invented this. It's ancient path. The Buddha is the past, and it's open. And after he discovered it, so the amount of effort that he had in that life itself. I'm not speaking of the jatakas or the past births, the paramita and development, paramita, das paramita, upaparamita, and paramatma. Those are not that. Just think of the life of the Buddha in this last life. Born there to Sakyan as a prince, and then he given up everything, and the type of life that he led. The type of life that he led, for what? For what? And he says, open aparutha te sangamata. So this amata dwara, amata is for deathlessness. You know, the dwara, the doors are open to deathless, to people who wants deathlessness, the state of becoming not born again. Yes, sotavanto pamunchand. Anyone who has ears, repose trust in me, repose trust. So that's an open. It's like the open-ended. It's nothing. It's just not for everyone and anyone. And there was no Guru Mukti. He didn't keep something as his, but he exposed. He explained the Dhamma. He discussed the Dhamma, and he was always open. But he has his own agenda. The daily routine is there. And there are certain times, and I know there were certain instances where the Buddha said, please, for a fortnight, I do not want anyone to come and disturb me except the one who is coming and giving me my dana. So that's also mentioned. So, but he has his own routine from right to the morning. And there is a time it's open. Anybody could come and discuss. And he started on his own, or he come to the preaching hall and then said, what were you discussing? And then take it up and then give an explanation. There are certain people who come with problems. You know, you all know the Kisa Gautami, the Patachara, and all those, and even Mahapajapati Gautami, anyone. You know, the thing is, it's open. And that's why another important aspect is the greatest Kalyanamitta is because he didn't have any kind of, in his mind, the things, these are people whom I cannot, I should know nothing like that. So, but that's the type of spirit that we should be having, cultivating, even now, if you want to develop this type. So then, and he says, come and see. You know, he never imposed anything. Come and see for yourself. The ehipasika, that's a noble quality of the Dhamma. Ehipasika, come and see for yourself whether you cannot get the happiness by following this path, by following what I have said, by that, and for yourself. You have, it's open. So it's not only that, you have to do this and that and you will get that. No, come and see and experience the Dhamma. And that's an open invitation that the Buddha had. So the Dhamma, the characteristic of the Dhamma, the characteristics is that. And also it's where I'm just taking the swakatu. It's, sorry, please excuse me. Yes. So it's well, it's a kalyana, word kalyana is used. The Dhamma is kalyana, good in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. You know, the kalyana is a very interesting word. It's used with, not only with mitta, there are so many things. Kalyana, Dhamma, kalyana, adi kalyana, manchya kalyana. So the Dhamma that he has taught, there is nothing, it's always good, it's always beneficial. And then it's well explained. Well explained. If it's not in one, then you can get further elaboration of what is there in another sutta. That's why we are in the service of the Buddha. When we discuss this, it's just not one sutta. When we have the studying the suttas in this manner, the teaching of the Dhamma helps us to get closer to the Dhamma, and then it's always leads That's a characteristic of the open aiko. It leads on to the deathless state of deathlessness. So, and not only that, the Buddha says, if you want, you get this happiness in this life itself. You don't have to wait for to death to get to heaven or somewhere, and there is eternal happiness. You get that happiness in this life itself. Sandittika, you have to, you can get it. And as a Kalyanamitta, he always urges us. Every moment you read all the suttas, there's that sense of urgency is there. Always thinking that death will come at any time. If with death coming, you have to, every moment is important. And that's why the Appamadena Sampad, last words of the Buddha, he was so conscious that Appamadena, this is something that you have to do. Your life is limited. When you are alive, you may be 60, 70, 80. You're fortunate if you are something that they are on the called the disembark, embark in some, people are thinking that way. If that is so, you have to think that the life is limited. We do not know when we will die. Could anyone predict? There's no soothsayer who can say that. Maybe the Buddha or someone, the soothsayer. But if that is so, every moment, tomorrow we do not know what will happen. So if that is so, then what is it? The most important thing is this very moment. And that's why he urges, Appamadena Sampada, do good, do good. And that's what it is. And that's why I consider him as the greatest, is because of that, his message. And he says, what he said, if yomang pasati, yo dhammang pasati, somang pasati. If you really see the Dhamma, anyone who's understands the Dhamma, and he receives me. He equated, the Buddha was the epitome of the Dhamma he taught. And he said finally, it's not, so that why the Buddha is yet living with us. Is so long as the Dhamma is there in this world, on this universe, that the Buddha is with us. So the Buddha, there was the Buddha, that's the physical body. But the Buddha living now is his Dhamma. And he himself say, if person sees the Dhamma, he sees me. And there's no point, and where do you see that Dhamma? It's within you, it's inside you, it's a development within. And as you develop, as you see this, you see greater happiness, the tranquility that you have in seeing the Buddha within. Now, with that, I will again has another important thing. Now, there's a story. There's a story which I like to tell. The Gatikara Sutta. I like to mention this because it's by the Buddha. The Buddha related this to Ananda Thero. And this is a very old story. It happened during the time of Buddha Kassapa. So Buddha Kassapa, very interesting, very, very interesting. You must be all knowing this story, but it's a very interesting story. If you want to read, it's in the Gatikara Sutta. Now, the Gatikara, and he was a potter, Gatikara, and his friend was Jyotipada. He was a Brahmin. Now, say they are very good friends. So one day, that it seemed that the Gatikara was one of the chief disciples or helpers of the Buddha Kassapa. So one day he thought the best gift that I could give to my friend Jyotipada is for him to come and see the Buddha. So he said, pleaded with him, come, please come, please come. Thrice he said, no. And he said, why do I want to see that Mundaka, that, the bald-headed samana? No, that's bald. There is no point in seeing that bald-headed. There is no point. So, but the thing is, the Gatikara did not stop there. He again asked, always that answer. Then they went normally, that we do with friends. We go to to the river to bathe. So they went to the river to bathe, and then he held Jyotipala by the belt and said, "Come, come, Jyotipala, please do come, because come and see the Buddha. It will be good for you." Then what the Jyotipala, he took off the belt. So there's no way of holding that. He took off the belt. And then after that, then he went to the river. So then, and then his hair was was with a was loosened, and then the Gatikara went to and held by his hair and shook him and said, "Come, you have to come, you have to come and see the Buddha." Then Jyotipala realized that's must be why he's of a lower status. Although he's a friend of mine, he will never touch me. But now he has held me by the hair and shook me and said, "Come, come and see, come and meet." And then because of that, he changed his mind. And he changed his mind as, right, let's go. And Jyotipala went to see the Buddha Kassapa, and he became a bhikkhu. And then he said, yes, he was so fascinated by the Dhamma that he became a bhikkhu. He asked Gatikara, come, why don't you also become? He said, no, friend, I have my old parents, they are blind parents, I have to look after them, I will not do it this time. So this is something that you have to remember. Kalyanamitta, now that particular is not more than a Sohadamitta, and he is something that we have to think of. And now I will end in this talk. I was listening last time, although I don't know whether it's recorded, that I was listening to Professor Vatavada, and the whole his talk. And there was this very, very animated discussion after that, led by earlier Mrs. Anuma Chesekara, is our earlier the president. And then some of the many questions came up. And then the thing that came up most was that there are so many reports, so many things, studies that have been made, so many reports. But all those reports, now they were asking about coke, they were asking about various things, and accountancy, everything. But they say all those are pigeonholed. So there are very good recommendations made by people. Now I know even recently we have been making recommendations, the Buddha Sasana Parasadhana Mandale, on very many matters. We have been helping, we have been telling the government, this should be so, this should be so. But all these things, yes, we are very happy to get this, but it's pigeonholed. So that happens. And then what could we do? Now, as I see it, in Sri Lanka and many other, in this country also, there are good people, but we have pigeonholed the Dhamma. That's what has happened. We have pigeonholed the Dhamma. There are the various, they say that 70% of our people in Sri Lanka are Buddhists. But what have we done? We are pigeonholed. And if it's pigeonholed, what can we do? What can we do? Is it that we just wait? No. We should be Gatikaras. We should be Gatikara. That's the important role that we have to play with these servants of the Buddha. It's not get into politics or anything like that. We have to say what the truth is. If the management people, there are the professional associations there, there are the accounting organizations there, the past administrators are there, everybody. Yes, and if they just remain, what would happen is, and it's happened now, we are in abyss. Sri Lanka is an abyss. We have to get out of this abyss. We have to get out of it. And the real way to get out of this abyss is following the Dhamma. We know about, we have in this country has a history, long history. We speak on the Sapta Pirihari Dhamma. We have been discussing those. That's in the Buddhas, and we know about the Raja Dharma and many other things. Asoka, all those things we learn. But now it is the time has come for us to work as Gatikaras. It's very important. And then that Gatikar, that is, the time has come because the people, we are just, getting further and further away in this tunnel. We're further away, but we have to turn the tide. We have to change it. People speak now of system changes. So system changes. How could we change the system so that what we have, Sri Lanka, we have been cherishing for so many years. 2000 is 2,611 years after the Buddha taught this. 2000 after is 2,566. We have been keeping this in this country. We have been nurturing it. And then what is it? But we have to use that. We have to help this country through the Buddha way to help to get out of this abyss. And that's a message. If you want, you can have a Kalyanamitta. But if the Kalyanamitta is there with us, but if you don't make use of the Kalyanamitta, we don't rely on the Kalyanamitta, where would we? We say yes. So it's a Kalyanamitta. The Samma Sambuddha is a Kalyanamitta. He's the greatest Kalyanamitta. And we can say we worship. Oh yes, we go and worship. And we do that. But it's not that what the Buddha wanted us. The Buddha wanted us to take it, to live that Dhamma, to get on to the Noble Eightfold Path in anything. And also as administrators or anything, like the country has to prosper. The country has prospered in the past by following by following the Buddha's path. So that's something that it is not, as I said, is not necessary to prove the efficacy of Buddhism in this country. It's not necessary. It has proven. There were times when we had golden periods. That was even before Christ. We are thinking of the Swarnamali Chaitya, that type of, in many, many areas, we have reached a sort of a zenith, and then what have happened. So we have to get that. So I finished my talk with that thought, leaving that thought. Now be Gatikaras. That's important. And so thank you very much. And let us all wish that this country will again come out by following the Buddha and be an example for the whole world. We are speaking of GNH, gross national happiness. And where are we? So the whole aim of our country should be, there's a GNH, but where are we? In fraud, corruption, where are we? As a Buddhist country, all of us should get together and bring it down. And why is it that why can't we get into the first 10 of these countries? Why is it that in Denmark, the Scandinavian countries, we do that? Why are we? It's not that we do not know. We know the path. We don't do it. We pigeonhole it. So thank you very much for this opportunity, for giving me the greatest Kalyanamitta. But we have to make use of that Kalyanamitta, and that's happened in the future. Thank you very much.